Greetings. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of developing a stronghold and things to look for. So it doesn't happen until towards the end of the game, so we're going to get right to it. And I'm just going to walk through some of the moves and some of the things that happened. And so pretty standard opening right now. I played white. I'm at chess.com battling the Komodo set level 16, which is rated at a 2000. And so let's get to it because I want to get to the developing a stronghold. So in the beginning, just remember you want to try to control the center and develop your minor pieces. Okay, your major pieces, which is these three pieces here, will develop a little later after the openings. So we're still in the opening phase right now because the minor pieces are still not completely developed. So this is still considered the opening. Okay, so I want to get to, okay, so this I developed here. I think the reason why it said there's a better thing to do is because these squares are closed off by this. If I would have went here, it would have left me the ability to own more squares. So when you're developing your pieces at the beginning, just remember, look for ways to control more, especially this is what you want to keep your eye on. Okay, but we're talking about strongholds, and that's what we're going to get to. So here, yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing to do, but my thing is it lines up with the queen, and it is a closed column. So yeah, I know that, but you know, I just had future ideas for looking down that queen, but there was probably better things to do. I'm sure there was. Computer says so. So okay, but let's get to that stronghold. That's what I want to get to here. Okay, so here, that's a mistake because now I can come up here, and this is exactly what I was just talking about. Even though I had made an accuracy by putting the rook here on the E file, it's now a semi-open file because there's only one pawn blocking it, and it's mine, and I own it. And now I'm threatening both these pieces. And if I take this, it's check, so it has to be dealt with. Gives me some kind of future idea to deal with this knight here. So, all right. So here we're going to do queen exchange. Now it's check, and now it gives me the ability to get my knight out of trouble. And my knight owns these two squares, as you can see here. So, okay. Now my stronghold is about to take place. I'm about to develop it. The reason why I took my knight back, because it's like, if you want to take my knight and I'll take your rook, you know, I'll definitely take that exchange. Okay, so now here we go. So now the knight is protected by this pawn. Now I'm free to move this rook. I didn't want my rook relatively pinned, in a manner of speaking, you know, and I wanted it free. I didn't want to use my rook just to protect a knight. There's, you know, surely better ideas you can use to keep your pieces going. Okay, so let's and so towards the end game, you want to get your king out and get it in the center of the board. I see sometimes people during the end game, they want to tuck their king away, you know, safe and sound, and that's a perfectly natural reaction, and sometimes I still do that, but the king is going to have to pull his own weight and get out there and battle. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so here I'm wanting to, since this knight is protected with this pawn, and that's the key to the whole thing, I'm looking to double stack my rooks here is what I was thinking with that. Okay, and I'll gladly take this down because now I've got 4 pawns over here. So pawns are even, but I have a knight. So you got rook knight versus rook. Okay, so let's get to it. And now I feel like my stronghold is complete. And what I mean by that is this king is blocked off. It cannot go to any of these squares. Okay, this pawn is protected by this knight. This knight is protected by this pawn. So the key to chess is using your pieces to work together. They've got to work together. One piece by itself, even a queen can't do much. The pieces have to work together. And so this is a great example of pieces working together. Look how this king is just cut off. It cannot go anywhere. And that's the key to me going into this end game. Now I'm getting my king towards the center of the board, okay, while this king is cut off. And that's really the key here. So I was wanting to do an exchange there while I'm up. Usually once I get up, especially up a minor piece, then I just want to keep exchanging down, make that end game easier and easier all the time. Okay, now see how I've got my king out in the center of the board? That's crucial. Okay, so now I'm just trying to get this whittled down. Now here my opponent wants me to take with this so that this pawn could possibly have an idea of promoting. And it wants me to have to use my rook to come after this pawn. So what I did was just push up. So now I'm blocked this pawn from making any progress. And now I can, at my leisure, if you will, come and get this this pawn here. So that's what happens here real shortly. Okay, so a little bit of exchange there, but here's the key. I still have my stronghold. The king is cut off. This pawn is protected with this knight. If my opponent wants to take this, I mean, I'll gladly do that exchange. So it's a pretty good stronghold right here. And the king is blocked off while I am free to waller around in my own self-crapulence. So looking for an exchange here. Komodo 16 says, yeah, I don't think so. All right, so here's where I start making some sacrifices. So now I'm in check. All right. I am going to let this pawn go. I'm going to let my stronghold go finally because I have the possibility of queening here, which is greater than that stronghold I had. So I just go ahead and let it take all this and sees my opponent, Komodo 16, 12, 2000 yellow, sees that. Okay, so there's the queen, there's the take. Okay, so now we've just got, you know, my rook compared to this. Now, my opponent is going to want to try for a stalemate and very nearly succeeds. I want to queen is what I'm trying to do. And this rook is protecting this pawn from being taken. Okay, and this king is cut off. It's still, this pawn right here has been so much trouble for my opponent. So again, just that echo of that stronghold is really paid dividends. Okay, and so here's, you know, towards this end, you have to be careful because if I queen now, I'll own all this, and my opponent won't have, and this pawn is blocked in, so it'll be a stalemate, a draw. So we don't want that. So I just kind of make a silly move just to buy a little time. There's that. I still have an escape route, and there it is. So the problem that my opponent had is the king was stuck over here in this little corner and was never free to go out and control the board like my king did. So that little stronghold kept that king squared away, and that was the key to this whole game. So I do have plenty of other videos where I go a little more in depth about developing the pieces and openings and stuff like that. So if you're new to my channel, please check all that out, and you can go to chess.com and battle the Komodo 16 and different other settings as well. I am not being promoted by chess.com. They don't even know I exist. I go to other websites as well and play and do different things. So hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.